Hello, and welcome to the fifth episode of Creator Spotlight Season 2 from The Interface. Creator Spotlight is our series where we talk to creators about what they make and do and how they got started. Today I'm joined by Harry Kersh, who you instantly recognise from Food Wars on YouTube. Welcome, Harry.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm very good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm very well. Thanks for having me.
Yes, no problem. So like many people, they'll probably recognise you from the highly successful series on YouTube from Insider Food. Or was it Food Insider? Is it Insider Food or Food Insider?
They keep changing it. I think the latest thing is Insider Food.
Cool. Yeah, so you for about 3 years now, I think since 2020, you and Joe and other people from the company have been making this series called Food Wars. So just tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So in Food Wars, like you say, it's a show on Insider Food. The main premise is that we're comparing fast food options around the world, usually basing on two countries. We started off comparing fast food in the UK and the US. So, for example, it would be McDonald's UK versus US. And within that, we'll compare things like the portion sizes to see who's got the larger portions, things like the exclusive menu items that you'll find in one country but not the other one, nutritional information, ingredients, price, and much, much more.
Yeah. And just a little bit about yourself. So how did you get started into... Well, yeah. What did you do before Insider Food, and then how did you get started into doing video? Like, did you approach somebody from the company to do it, or did they come up with it themselves? Or
Yeah, so I'd say I've had like somewhat of an unconventional route into where I am right now. It wasn't necessarily a career that I sort of planned out. It's one that I've kind of ended up in, but I'm very much enjoying, so I want to keep doing it. It was a slightly weird path. I studied law at university. I have a law degree because for a while I wanted to be a barrister. Then was not enjoying my degree, started looking for other options. I started doing some student journalism at Southampton, where I went to uni, and really, really enjoyed that. Through that, I was then, after graduating, able to get an internship at Insider, doing social media for a while, mostly on the social video distribution side. So the video team in the UK would create videos, they'd give them to me, I would then upload them to like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, various other social platforms. So by doing that, I was able to kind of like get a pretty good understanding of the social landscape, see how these platforms work, see what kind of content works on these platforms. And also I was able to get a pretty good working relationship going with the video team in the UK. And if they ever needed kind of like a volunteer to appear on camera, then I'd always just be the first person to volunteer, whether that was doing fun things or less fun things, like eating really spicy chicken wings and stuff for the content. But just kind of by doing that over time, I was able to kind of build up, like I say, this close relationship with the video team. Mm-hmm. I did social media for like 2 years or so, doing just like I say, the occasional video bit on the side. Before Food Wars, I did a show called Best in Town, where we'd kind of find 4 of the same food item and try and find out which one was the best. So we did like the best hot chocolate in London or something like that, which was good fun. And yeah, I think just through doing that, I was able to prove myself as like a capable enough video host. And then after a while, I feel like I kind of hit a ceiling in the social role that I was in. So I pitched to move to the video team full time. Luckily for me, they said yes. And then from there, we kind of found Food Wars, and the rest is history.
Yeah, definitely. It's highly successful. I definitely enjoy watching them while eating, because I have to watch them while eating, otherwise I just feel so hungry.
Honestly, like writing the scripts is hard work, because I'm just staring at fast food menus all day.
Yeah,
and then by the time it comes to dinner or lunch, I'm starving and craving really unhealthy food. So.
Is a lot of it scripted? Is it, or like is everything you say on screen scripted? Or is it a little bit of ad lib? Or
it's an interesting kind of format that we have. So I mean, we write scripts, but the scripts are more the kind of foundations of the episode.
Okay.
So within the script, we'll have basically all of the information, all the factual information that we want to convey, whether that's, here are the portion sizes, X, Y, Z. Here are the stuff here are all the exclusive items, just kind of in a list. But then a lot of it is improvised, is ad-libbed on the day. A lot of it's reactions. This particularly comes on Joe's side. I think he's pretty good at the kind of like improv stuff. He's actually got a background in improv comedy, which I think helps him.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Does, yeah. But so in the script, for example, the exclusive section will just have like pretty much just a list of the items. And then from there, it's up to myself and Joe as to like which ones we want to taste and try, which ones we want to provide commentary on.
Sure.
So that sort of stuff won't be in the script like written down, but will kind of like work its way into the final edit. And oftentimes are kind of like the funniest moments of the things that weren't in the script. It's just the reactions that we get from myself, Joe, and others as well.
Makes sense. Mm-hmm. I had quite a burning question. I can't work it out from watching it, but do you enjoy film at the same time? Because there are some, if you know what I mean, there are some interactions between. So if you try something, and he'll go like, "Oh, that's not very good," or you know what I mean. Are they filmed at the same time, or
A lot of people ask this actually, which
yeah?
I think is a testament to our editing team because they're not filmed at the same time.
Huh?
No, they're not. So I'm obviously based in London.
Yeah,
Joe's based in LA. So there's 8 hours of time difference.
yeah,
So to coordinate something like that at the same time is very difficult. Generally speaking, what will happen is that we'll shoot in the UK first, and then we'll do like a rough edit. We'll send that over to Joe so that he can then
right.
film his portion and also react to my clips as well.
That makes sense.
Sometimes it might be the other way around, and he'll shoot first, or sometimes I might go back in and film reactions if there's like a funny bit that I think I can add to after the fact. But yeah, they're not filmed at the same time. They are
Cool.
just convincingly edited.
Yeah, it's very well edited. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how much of a role do you have in editing it? Because the edit, I've seen many comments before, and I personally think it as well. The editing on it it's come like so far from where it started. If you know what I mean, it's very high quality production. Like as a presenter on the show, do you just film it and leave, or do you have quite a solid involvement in how it's edited, how it's produced afterwards, or?
Yeah, so my role on the team is managing producer. I started as like story producer, which so my role focuses more on the scripting and the hosting side of things. Like I said, I'm not like a trained videographer per se. I didn't study it at uni. I didn't really have that as part of my job beforehand. So my input on the editing is minimal in terms of like the actual like meat of the editing. I will obviously like be watching rough cuts and kind of providing thoughts and ideas. But we're fortunate to have a really amazing editing team. We've got about 3 or 4 editors now on the team. But people like Connor Blake, Yuli Song, Katya Kupelian, others, they're just really, really great. Really kind of understood the tone of the show and kind of impart their own voice on it a lot. Because like things like when you've got a show like this, because they're quite long episodes sometimes, and they can be quite information heavy. So the pacing of the editing is like crucial to kind of keep eyeballs on these videos.
100%.
So they understand that really well. Understanding the kind of comedic voice that we're going for as well. So yeah, like I really have to just give all the credit to the editing team there. I can't claim credit for that one, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's very good. Video work's quite tricky. Like I've only just recently, so I've done this podcast for about a year now. That's relatively easy to edit because it's just one camera. Like, but I've started doing more on site stuff, and it's definitely there's a lot more to it than you think. It is quite tricky. But yeah, the editing's amazing. So if you give that feedback, that'd be good. It's great.
I will. Yeah.
I think someone's asked it before, but the filming process for that show, so it's like a 20-30 minute episode, sometimes even longer. Like how long does that take to sort of just film? Is that a whole day, or?
It really depends on the episode. Sometimes it will take only a couple of hours. Sometimes it will take more like a whole day. Depends on a few factors. I mean, obviously, like the size of the menu and like how much stuff there is to talk about at any given chain. Sometimes we'll do an episode where there's only like 4 exclusives in the UK, so there's not really a lot to discuss kind of in that front. Sometimes there'll be an episode where there's loads, so then we have to kind of go through it, give our thoughts. We did like a Denny's episode recently, and there were like a lot of exclusives, so that took quite a while to film. Also, just the logistics as well. Obviously, like some of the places are very optimized for delivery and big orders and service like that. Things like Domino's, we've always enjoyed filming in the past because it's obviously like a primarily delivery-based business. So then we can just kind of like get everything brought straight to the door. They're pretty used to it. That's all fine. Whereas then other times it's required a lot more on the logistical side. So we did like a Wendy's episode, for example, and we wanted to get on it basically just as soon as Wendy's were opening in the UK, because we wanted to be kind of like the first ones to strike. But then that meant that the first one they opened up was in Reading, not London. And our studio is in Surrey Quays in southeast London. So that involved me having to go to the office, hire a zip car, drive to Reading, collect loads of Wendy's, drive back to London, and then shoot. So that ended up being like a full day. And obviously the food was very cold by the time I actually got to eat it because it had been sat in the car for about 2 hours.
Yeah, that is a question I had written down. Like, also, I'll just get that bit in a minute. The series has sort of come at the right time because I remember when I was a bit younger, I was thinking, there's all these fast food restaurants in America. Like, when are we going to get these? Because we've got 3. Like in the last few years, there's been a massive surge in like American restaurants. You've had Wendy's, you've had like what is it, Popeyes as well. There's so many American restaurants that have come here, and you've sort of striked while the iron's hot a little bit. And the other question I had was, you've basically answered, like, what do you do when there's only one location? So they had the Little Caesars episode a little while ago, and you had the Denny's episode. There's only one of those in one of each. There's one in, I think Denny's is in South Wales, and then Little Caesars up north somewhere. So what did you do for those? Because like I was discussing this with my girlfriend, she said, oh, perhaps they go and rent a studio up in where the restaurant is, but it sounds like you just go and get it and come back. And
So it depends on where it is. So like for Wendy's, because that was just like a one-off and it's not too far away in
yeah,
Reading. I just did that by renting a car and doing it in one day. But the Little Caesars and the Denny's, we actually did travel. So that was a bit more of a logistical task. I had to find some studio space that we could use in South Wales.
okay,
So we like rented a car, drove to Denny's, got the stuff, went to the studio space, and shot the episode. And then from there, we drove straight up to Derby, which is not a logical, not like a logical trip plan at all.
yeah,
But we just thought, if we're gonna travel for one,
yeah.
we might as well package it into one, just so that it's like slightly more cost effective that way to kind of do it all in one go.
Uh-huh.
So it was just a 3-person crew of myself, our producer Charlie Floyd, and one of our supervising producers Leon Siciliano. Just did like a 3-person trip. But yeah, so that one we actually had to find studio space elsewhere. I think like we did pretty well in the end to make it. The benefit of the studio of the Food Wars setup is that all we really need is like a white wall and a table,
yeah,
and some lights. So we can replicate it or close enough to replicating it pretty easily. So yeah, I think we did a pretty good job. I don't think most people would watch that and be like, "This looks super weird." They might be like, "It's a slightly different table to normal."
No.
But yeah,
I just thought, oh, it's just the same place. I just picturing you walking into I just picture you walking into a studio now carrying like an army amount of food, just like, what are you doing?
it's one of the more surreal moments of the job, of which there are quite a few. It's quite a surreal job that I've ended up in. But yeah, it's really good fun, and yeah, fortunate enough to like work with a really great crew. Makes it it's enjoyable. Like the shoots are fun.
Yeah. Now also, like, some restaurants are geared to deal with that amount of food in one order. So like, is there some restaurants you have to call ahead of time to say, look guys, like, we're going to order like a stupid amount of food tomorrow, just be prepared, or do you have to just surprise them and see how they deal with it?
There are some where we do. So for Denny's, I gave them a heads up because I was like, we're going to be arriving around this time. We don't have that long because we've only rented the studio for like half a day, so we can need to like get the food and get to the studio fairly quickly. So I gave them some heads up to be like, hey, we're going to come in and have a pretty big order. Some of them are okay actually. Some of them are really used to it. We did actually a cinemas episode recently. We did like Odeon in the UK versus AMC in the US because it's owned by the same company.
Yeah.
And I went in and did the classic thing of like, can I pretty much just have one of everything on the menu, please? And they were like, yep, fine, not a problem.
Yeah.
And I even asked, I was like, is this your biggest ever order? And they said, no, not at all, not even close. So, so they were completely unfazed. I think they've had some like massive kids' birthday parties before, where they have to sell about 100 things of popcorn. So they were unfazed, which was nice.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I think you mentioned, is it always you that has to go and collect the food? Or is it just is it someone else that gets it, or?
It's generally me. On the UK side, like we try to shoot with quite a small crew where we can, just to kind of like, keep costs down.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have that many staff in the UK. Insider is like still a primarily American business. We have grown actually a bit, the UK office, but the video team is still fairly small. So just in terms of resources and keeping costs down, it's usually like me and maybe 2 producers. We have done it with just me and 1 producer before. But yeah, usually just for ease, it's me who will go and collect the food.
Yeah, definitely. And I've got some quick fire questions at the end, which we'll do. But the other thing that I really enjoyed that you and Joe did recently was food tours. That was really good. Like, I can imagine the filming process for that in some of the busier restaurants was a bit awkward because I imagine you guys probably aren't using small cameras; they're probably quite big, like larger cameras maybe. But yeah, what was the main idea for that? Was Joe quite interested in coming to the UK and trying our food, or what was What's all the inspiration for that?
Yeah, I mean, so one thing about Food Wars is that particularly when just the kind of UK and US side is concerned,
Yeah.
there is kind of like a lifespan on it in a way, just because there's only a finite number of fast food chains
Yep.
and snacks and drinks that are popular in both countries. We have been able to innovate quite a lot within that format. I mean, we started off just doing kind of, McDonald's, KFC, Burger King, like the big chains,
Hmm.
and now we're doing things like Coca-Cola, like Monster Energy, some snack brands like Pringles. So
Yep.
there is still stuff that we want to explore within that, but Food Tours was partly born out of just the need to like keep things fresh, keep like new sources of content. So we were looking at things that we could do. Like I say, like previously when I was kind of first starting to do video, I did a show called Best in Town,
Mm.
and that was one that we really liked, and we used to get comments kind of asking for us to bring that back. And I think there's definitely we thought there was potential to do that. We didn't just want to do it in the same way. Because like I think Insider Video has kind of evolved a bit since we were doing that.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to just kind of go back and do the same thing as before. But there were definitely elements of that I think were great and that we wanted to kind of like build upon, especially now that we had this Food Wars kind of established US UK dynamic as well, the myself and Joe dynamic. So yeah, I think we were looking at other things that we could do, and that really was the one that kind of like stuck out to us as a possibility. So yeah, we were fortunate enough to get some like budget approval for that. We only had Joe here for 1 week, so we only were able to film 3. But thankfully, they've been received really, really well on YouTube. So we're going to make more, which is exciting.
Yeah, I'd be quite interested if you went to the USA as well. That'd be quite interesting. So yeah, okay.
My lips are sealed.
But yeah, it's a really good format, and I was
But
surprised how many views it got very quickly. So it's
yeah. So honestly, so were we,
Yeah.
which is a nice surprise, because I think one thing that series goes for. I mean, not that Food Wars doesn't do this, but one thing that this series goes for is we're kind of looking more at SEO for views. So we'll be looking at more like, what's a YouTube or like what's a YouTube user or a tourist going to be Googling when they go into a city like London. One thing is, you might just Google best pizza London, best roast London, best breakfast London. And that's the sort of like, SEO tends to be slightly more of a long game with views like that. Whereas Food Wars, at least with the big episodes, we tend to get more of like an initial spike, just because, they're quite eye-grabbing videos. People know the format at this point. Whereas, we were sort of like expecting them to do well, but maybe to be more of a slow burn. So the fact that they've kind of all crossed 1 million views in the first month or two of release is really, really great.
Yeah, it's good.
But yeah, so it's exciting. We've got lots more ideas, and the potential for that is also kind of limitless as well, just because we can go to so many countries, so many cities, try out like local cuisines, whether it's with myself and Joe or like other hosts as well, like combinations of hosts. We've used obviously like Nikhil Kini in India, George Japan for our Japan Food Wars series. Love to get them back and kind of like have them showing people around. So yeah, there's a lot of possibilities. To get back to your point about the logistics of it, it is very different to what we're used to doing, and that's been an adjustment. But it's been a fun one, because obviously going from Food Wars, where you have a very controlled environment, you're just in this like white background, kind of looks like you're just in the void eating your food, to going out into the world is an adjustment. For the most part, it's been okay. It needed a lot of careful planning. Charlie Floyd, our producer, has been great for that, because these are filmed in 1 day as well. These are all filmed in 1 day. There's no camera tricks there. So the fact that we have to kind of like, plan all of our spots in advance, let them know when we're going to arrive, what we're going to want, what we're going to need, and getting all that sort of stuff done ahead of time is huge. So there's a lot of it can be mitigated with careful planning. But yeah, I mean, there's some things that you can't really prepare for. In the Full English Breakfast episode, the third place we visited, Ipalici, was chaotic.
It was so busy.
It was absolutely mad. It was mad in there. It's tiny. It's amazing. But yeah, it's tiny. We were crammed in. We had so little space to operate in.
Yeah.
And I think we ended up managing to do really well, despite the limited space that we had. But yeah, it's been an adjustment, but a really exciting one. It's something that we've wanted to do for a while. Food Wars obviously kind of like really kind of kicked off just during the pandemic.
Yeah, that's right.
So our travel opportunities have been really limited until now. So yeah, it's great that A, we've been able to do this. B, we're working with a team that's kind of like made it a relatively smooth process, and also that people are actually watching it.
Yeah, there's did any restaurants that you approached saying, look, we're going to film here, did they say no? Like, there was any?
There were a few actually. It really depends on the restaurant. Some of the chains really love the promotion. Some are maybe a bit more hesitant about the kind of impact that we might have on their like workflow, and if we're going to get in the way. I think sometimes as well, people assume. I know if TV crews, for example, go and film somewhere, then it can be a much bigger thing.
Yeah,
they'll have big crews. They'll have lots of lighting. There's like a guy with a boom. They'll have massive cameras, that sort of thing. Whereas the benefit of us is that we really are like quite a surgical operation in a lot of ways, because we film with quite a small crew.
Mm-hmm.
That was Food Tours was me and Joe hosting. We had Leon as our kind of like producer overseeing it. And then we had David Adikwi and Charlie Floyd on camera. So it's just a 2-camera shoot, just like handheld C200 cameras. So we really don't take up that much room, and we always try and get that across to people when we're pitching it to them. There were a few. It depends. So the one that sticks out is like with the fish and chips episode that we did of Food Tours. In this batch, we were trying to find a pub option, because we wanted like one of the places that we went to be a pub. It's like a traditional facet of fish and chips, like a pub fish and chips. So we wanted one of the options to be a pub, and we were really struggling to find a pub that would accommodate us and also let us in the kitchen, which was kind of like one of the sticking points for us. Is that with the show we wanted some process footage of the food being made, and a lot of the chefs seem to have kind of like complete control over the kitchen and who's allowed in it, rather than the owners. Because there were one or two where the owners were like, yeah, this sounds great, we're really keen. Let me speak to the chef. And then we get a call back being like, sorry, we can't do it. You have to deal with a couple of chefs and navigate that sort of thing. But we always try to be accommodating. The videos, I think, would be worse if they didn't want us to be there. And that was clear, because it's kind of like, it's tricky to hide that sort of thing on camera. It can be quite funny on occasion. But generally speaking, we want to be able to get all the footage we need, take our time a little bit, and not feel like we're rushed or that we're being like kicked out. So not everyone's thrilled about it. Some people did say no. But I think the ones who said yes are happy that they said yes. Yeah,
the footage, that extra bit of B-roll that you put in place, it definitely helps lift the video production quality. And also, if people looking, like as you said, there's two types of people that watch that sort of videos. People are looking to come to the area. There's also fans of insider food. It just helps see the things being made. It sort of helps bring the quality up. I've just got some. That's most of the main questions I've got. I've got some like quick fire questions that I'm sure people are dying to know the answers to. So, So for food wars, who gets the leftovers?
So the leftovers are usually split between the crew. It depends on the episode as to like how much of it we're able to keep hold of and take home. Some of them we're like basically that we start from the point of trying to waste as little as possible, because we don't want to do that. So we'll start from there and kind of like go from there. The snack episodes are great. So if we do an episode on like crisps, for example, that was great, because I just took loads of crisps home and they keep for ages.
So lunch for the next week.
Crisps, so exactly, sorted. Pizza's another good one. So if we do a pizza episode, leftovers keep pretty well. That's also great. It's things like like Burger King maybe, which don't keep quite so well, because as soon as like a Whopper starts to go a bit stale and soggy, it's very unpleasant. So things like that, we'll try to eat as much as we can on the day. Maybe take a few bits home, and then throw out stuff that like we can't eat. We've also tried to donate some stuff as well. We did like a Heinz episode, which obviously is like a lot of canned goods and condiments and things like that, which are more suitable for donation. So sometimes in episodes, I won't try everything, because we want to be able to like keep them intact and be able to donate them, rather than giving people a half-empty bottle of ketchup. It's not as nice.
That's good. What's your favorite food item?
Like fast food or just in general?
In general.
It's such a hard question.
Yeah, no.
It is. The trouble with me and food is that what I am kind of like craving and thinking of at any given moment can change massively with my mood. but there are a few things that are recurring favorites. My grandma makes a really good steak pie, and that has a big nostalgia factor for me. So maybe Nana's steak pie, or
Nice.
oh man, a good burger is so hard to beat. No spoilers, but Burger and Beyond in London is probably my favorite burger in London. They have this like just incredible double cheeseburger, which I could eat pretty much whatever the weather, I think.
It did look good in that episode, to be fair. So it's one for me to try, I think.
Yeah. Have you been?
No, I have not. No, no,
Man, yeah, check
yeah,
it out. Are you based in London?
no. I'm based in sort of the Midlands.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool,
yeah,
nice.
yeah.
So, yeah, if you do next time you get down to London, go tell them Harry sent you.
Will do. um, yeah. So, what's your favourite sandwich filling?
Ooh, favorite sandwich filling. Um, like fairly recently, my main kind of like comfort meal, I suppose, or one of them, is like a really good steak sandwich. If I have
Ah,
like an evening to myself where I um, want to like just treat myself a little bit, like take some time cooking,
yeah, yeah.
unwind, get a podcast on in the kitchen. Yeah, I'll make myself like a very bougie steak sandwich. So we're talking like probably ciabatta as the bread, or
Oh,
like
yeah.
a nice sourdough.
Nice.
Toast that in some olive oil. It's great. A little bit of mustard, a little bit of mayo, and then get a steak, heavily salted, peppered, all that stuff. Nice medium rare. Let that rest for a minute. And then we're like maybe chopping up some sun-dried tomatoes, getting that involved. A little bit of rocket. If I'm feeling extra fancy and I have the time, I'll like melt some mozzarella and put that on top as well. But yeah, probably if I'm feeling fancy, a steak sandwich. If I'm just talking meal deal, probably just chicken and bacon.
Um, and also, I had this question written down. It said, "Not including food wars, how often do you eat takeaway?" And I was thinking as I wrote that, I was like, it's probably the fact that you've had takeaway on camp. Like, if I had all of them, and is that sort of spoiled it a little bit, or
It really hasn't.
no? Okay,
This is a question I get. A question I get a fair amount is like, has doing food wars put you off fast food? And the answer is always no,
no,
a resounding no.
yeah,
I love fast food. I still love fast food. I might have changed some of the ordering habits that I had slightly in terms of like I might. I've discovered new menu items that I really like through doing food wars, which is
that
great.
makes sense.
But no, I do. I love cooking. It's just more of a question of like time, basically. Like if
Yeah,
I'm fairly busy, so I won't always have the time to cook in the evening. So yeah, I maybe get a takeaway like once or twice a week, if on average. Sometimes more, sometimes less, depending on how busy I am.
that sounds good. I did enjoy your on your own channel. I did enjoy that cooking episode you did a little while back. So that was quite good. I'd quite like to see more of that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I need to try and post more on there. It's difficult. Like I'm sure like other people understand, but like when my job is obviously like video production, so I'm kind of doing that all day, and then I go home and I'm like, I don't want to make more videos because it's like
yeah,
the same thing again. But yeah, it's good fun. I do want to do that. I know like Joe's got his own YouTube channel, which he posts quite a lot on,
ah,
and does some really good stuff on there.
I'll check that out.
A few other people at Insider have done the same. I know Claudia, who does regional eat stuff in the UK and So Expensive Food, she's got her own channel and posts some really great stuff on there. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's cool, and obviously there's a lot of like ideas that I have that maybe just wouldn't work for Insider Food for whatever reason, like logistically or just like the audience,
mm.
what they kind of want. But the stuff that I still think is good and want to make. So having your own channel does also give you the opportunity to do that. Everyone go and subscribe to Harry Kersh if you're listening to this.
Yeah. The link will be in the show notes or on YouTube down below. So that's cool. Nice one. And it was also for one of the later questions. Is there any type of food you just straight up refuse to eat? So my personal one is peanut butter. I hate it.
Oh,
But yeah,
really?
so
I love peanut butter.
so
So I used to be a really picky eater when I was a little kid, like super picky.
yeah,
And thankfully, I've really grown out of that. It was kind of like I think a lot of it just came out of stubbornness when I was a little kid. You just decide you don't like foods based on either like one experience or just because you don't like the look of the food.
yeah, makes
You're
sense.
just like, I'm not going to eat that.
Yeah,
So I used to be really fussy. I'm now at a point where I will pretty much eat anything. I might not love eating everything, but I'll do it. I struggle a bit, probably like my food hell. I struggle a bit with tuna mayo.
right.
Something about the texture of tuna mayo, and I don't love like fish. Like I'll eat fish, but not loads. So Yeah, I think tuna mayo is one, and also I don't like I don't like tomatoes in sandwiches. That's like a weird textural thing for me.
Yeah,
I like tomatoes now, like a raw tomato, but when they're kind of like, in season, prepared well, seasoned, all that stuff. Whereas I think a lot of the time with the kind of like prepackaged sandwiches that you get in like a meal deal, for example, it'll just be a really watery, mushy slice of tomato, which I just don't think adds anything to a sandwich. It's kind of
no,
gross.
no.
So maybe my food hell would be like a tuna mayo sandwich with mushy tomato in it. I would think I would probably just politely refuse.
Yeah, it's interesting you mention that. Like when I was younger, I just straight up refused to eat tomatoes in general. I won't eat them raw, but I'll add
Yeah.
them in like pasta dishes and stuff. But I've realized, I just noticed like,
Yeah.
I'll actually eat that now. It's weird how your taste changes.
Yeah, it really does. I was the same. I used to not eat any raw tomatoes, but I would love, pizza. I'd love spaghetti bolognese, that sort of thing. So like cooked tomato was fine. I think texture is one big thing for me when I eat in food. Like
Mm,
it's almost on a similar level to the way something actually tastes. If something tasted good but had a really off-putting texture, I think I'd still struggle to eat that.
yeah, definitely.
I don't know what that says about me, but yeah, texture is key. It's important.
Yeah. Um, and one last thing, have you got any advice for people looking to get into video work or presenting on camera? Because it's quite a tricky thing. And just any advice for anyone looking to get into making videos as a hobby or a job or
Yeah, like I said, I think I did have a slightly unorthodox route into this career, so I can't pretend to be like a complete expert. For me, it was a case of like a little bit of right place, right time, but then also, just like I say, being really keen and volunteering for any opportunity that came my way. So that was really the way that, like, once I had that opportunity, I was making sure that I was seizing it with both hands.
sure?
I think for people looking to get into the industry, you don't have to study like video or content or anything like that. I think for me, it's almost more important to be showing your passion through your side hobbies. So you like your passion projects, whether that's just having your own YouTube channel where you're producing vlogs, ensuring that you're like watching content and watching YouTube and keeping an eye on what other creators are making and what's working on the platform, what isn't, staying abreast of all of that stuff. So I think things like, just making sure that you're showcasing your interest through your passions and your hobbies, I think is crucial. So when it comes to then, applying for an opportunity, having a show reel that you can point to,
Yeah,
having a portfolio, that sort of stuff, I think is crucial.
yeah. And just one thing I started making videos for my day job last year, and also for this the interface website as well. One thing I would mention to people looking to get into it is you don't need all the fancy equipment to start with. There's many people I spoke to on this podcast which are just film car videos with a phone and it looks great. So if
Yeah.
someone's looking to get into it, just go outside, film something you want to film and just go from there basically. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, 100%. It's like it's almost more accessible than it's ever been, which in some ways I guess is a bad thing because it's a lot of competition now because anyone can just pick up a phone and make a video. But in other ways, like if you are someone who's passionate about it, you can offer something fresh, you can offer something a little bit new. Then like the opportunity is there.
100%.
Particularly if people of a younger generation, they've like grown up with phones, they've grown up with video, they've grown up with social media. These are all massive advantages because there are still people in the workforce who probably don't have the same level of understanding as the younger generation will. I think it's an exciting time for content. There's a lot of good stuff out there, but there's still a lot of things that we can explore.
Definitely. Thank you, Harry, for joining me
Awesome.
on the Creator Spotlight podcast. It's been really cool to talk to you about food wars, food tours, and also about yourself. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about what you make and do?
Cool. Yeah, you can obviously find me and Food Wars on the Inside of Food YouTube channel. You can find my own personal YouTube channel. I'm just at Harry Kersh. I'm also on Instagram as a real Harry Kersh and Twitter as Harry's Bad Tweets.
Awesome. You can find the interface at theinterface.uk. We've got 3 podcasts at the moment. So it's plenty of stuff for everyone. Thank you for joining me, Harry, and we'll see you again next time.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on.